Old Wang Air chopped down a century-old locust tree with his axe, when suddenly a scream rang out, startling him so much that he fell to the ground. Looking closer, he was stunned. Bright red liquid was gushing from the cut in the trunk, steam rising from it. My God! Old Wang Air turned and ran, but the cry for help echoed in his ears. Help me! It hurts so much. Old Wang Air ran a dozen meters before stopping abruptly. He was poor, but kind-hearted. He thought, what if someone is really trapped inside the tree? If I don't help, my conscience will haunt me for the rest of my life. He gritted his teeth and ran back, shouting at the trunk, Who's there? Who's in there? Help me. The voice rang out again, then fell silent. Old Wang Air steeled himself, raised his axe, and chopped the locust tree with all his might. A moment later, a root resembling a human figure crawled out of the hollow. Wang Air was completely dumbfounded. A cold yet alluring voice echoed in his mind. You're so poor you're always chopping wood. Can you even provide for your mother? Take me with you, and I can give you everything you want. Terrified, Wang Air scrambled home. Little did he know that the tree root was like a persistent plaster, clinging to him. Wang Air's life was incredibly hard. In his 30s, he was so poor he couldn't even find a wife because of his blind, bedridden mother. But the next morning, he discovered a tender leaf sprouting from the tree root. Curious, he touched it, and the leaf fell and transformed into a gleaming piece of silver. Wang Air's eyes widened. He quickly took the silver to town, buying rice, meat, and even 2 feet of new cloth to make clothes for his mother. From that day on, the human-shaped tree root sprouted a leaf every day, turning into a piece of silver each day. Wang Air's life visibly improved, and soon he built a large brick house. But he didn't forget his paralyzed mother, treating her with utmost filial piety, caring for her without complaint, and generously helping anyone in the village who was in need. The villagers all praised him as a kind and righteous son. But just when he thought good days would continue, his mother's words plunged him into despair. That day, as he was feeding his mother her medicine, her eyes, blind for many years, suddenly looked towards the underside of the bed. Her withered hand grabbed Wang Air, her voice trembling. Son, there's something unclean in our house. I feel my health deteriorating day by day, as if something is draining my life force. Wang Air's heart skipped a beat. He immediately thought of the tree root. He comforted his mother, but then he thought, since we got this treasure, life has improved, and my mother can finally get good medicine. How could it be something bad? So he didn't take his mother's words seriously. However, strange things began to happen one after another. The tree root, which used to produce a piece of silver every day, started producing a piece of star every day. His family fortune grew larger and larger, and a year later, he became the richest man in town. But his mother's health deteriorated at a visible rate. She used to be able to sit up in bed for a while, but later she didn't even have the strength to lift her hand. She slept all day and was barely breathing. At the same time, the strange things in the village intensified. The well water turned sour, livestock died suddenly, and rumors spread in panic. In the end, all the blame pointed to Wang Air, suddenly rich, finally panicked. He discovered a terrifying pattern. The more vigorous the tree roots under the bed were, and the larger the golden leaves they grew, the weaker his mother became. One night, as Wang Air helped his mother to bed, he noticed that the tree roots under the bed were emitting a faint red glow in the darkness. Each flicker of the red light was eerily synchronized with his mother's painful breathing. Wang Er was covered in sweat. His mother's life was truly being sucked away by this thing, bit by bit. That night, he had a strange dream in which a cold voice whispered in his ear. As he spoke, "Your mother won't live for many more years anyway." Trading her remaining lifespan for a lifetime of wealth and luxury is a good deal. Wang Er suddenly woke up in a cold sweat. He rushed to the bedside, looked at his mother, who was emaciated and barely clinging to life, and couldn't hold back any longer, slapping himself hard across the face. "You beast! I'm such a beast!" he cried, kneeling on the ground and wailing. "Mountains of gold and silver are nothing compared to my mother." He pulled out the humanoid tree root that was still emitting a demonic glow and was about to smash it against the stone mill in the yard when, unexpectedly, a large group of the villagers, armed with farm tools, surrounded Wang Er's house. "Wang Er, you jinx! Get out here," they shouted. Wang Er, startled, opened the door and saw the village's respected third uncle pointing at him, crying out in anguish. "Wang Er, we all know you're filial, but you can't sacrifice the whole village just to prolong your mother's life. Burn him. Burn this evil thing." The villagers were enraged, their anger directed at Wang Er. He was completely bewildered. The tree root in his hand was clearly draining his mother's life. How had it become draining the entire village's life force? Just then, that cold voice screamed in his mind. "Do you see that? These are the villagers you usually help out. They don't appreciate it at all. Ignore them. Take me with you. I can give you anything you want." On one side was the pressure and misunderstanding from the entire village. On the other was the allure of the tree root. Wang Er's last gaze fell on his dying bride on the bed inside the house. He suddenly calmed down, raised the tree root in his hand, and shouted to everyone, "Folks, this thing is a menace. Believe it or not, it's harming my mother, and it's harming everyone. Today, I'll settle things with it in front of you all. Mother, your son was wrong." He roared, slamming the tree root to the ground. With a loud crash, the root shattered into pieces. At the very moment the root broke, a sudden, powerful surge erupted from Wang Er's house. The once magnificent brick and tile house crumbled and collapsed as if piled up with sand, instantly reverting to its original dilapidated thatched hut. All the treasures inside turned to dust. The villagers were dumbfounded, but Wang Er breathed a sigh of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted. Just then, instead of black smoke rising from the shattered tree roots, a soft, warm golden light emanated from them. The light converged, and a kind old man with white hair and beard, leaning on a cane, appeared before them. The villagers immediately recognized him. He looked exactly like the local earth god statue in the temple outside the village. They knelt on the spot. The earth god smiled and nodded at Wang Er. "Good child, get up. You have passed the test." Stroking his beard, the local earth god slowly said, "I am the local earth god. Seeing your filial piety and noble heart, I set up this test to examine you. The first test was whether you would forget your roots even when you are wealthy. You passed that test. The second test was how you would choose between your loved ones and wealth. You chose filial piety. The third test was to see whether you would complain or uphold your principles when you are despised by the world. You were willing to sacrifice yourself for the sake of others. This is righteousness, and you have passed that test as well." The earth god waved his hand, and a golden light flew into the thatched hut. Wang Er turned around and saw that his mother had actually sat up. Not only was she full of energy, but her eyes, which had been blind for many years, had also been restored. Mother! Wang Er rushed over excitedly, and the mother and son embraced and wept. The earth god then said to Wang Er, "Wealth is just an illusion, fleeting and ephemeral. True blessings in your hands, under your feet," he said, and his figure gradually faded away and disappeared. From that day on, the village returned to peace. Wang Er found that his meager savings had become exceptionally fertile. Whatever he planted grew, and the harvest was several times better than that of others. With his hard-working hands and his recovering mother, he lived a more stable and prosperous life than any illusory wealth. The villagers respected and felt ashamed of him, and everyone came to help him. Soon, the daughter of the wealthy Zhang in town, not seeking fame but only admiring Wang Er's filial piety and sense of responsibility, asked someone to propose marriage, and they became a happy couple. Only then did Wang Er understand that true blessings are never gold ingots that fall from the sky, but rather a kind and warm heart that has never changed under any test.